Colonel General Kurt Zeitzler, chief of the German Army General Staff, because of his first-hand confrontation with Hitler on the night Stalingrad was lost, provides the most emotionally charged, deeply documented window into Hitler's shock, denial, and psychological collapse. You do not bring Hitler bad news. For years, that has been the unbreakable rule inside the marble corridors of the Wolfschanze and later the Führer Hauptquartier in Rastenburg. You do not contradict him, you do not challenge his assumptions, and above all, you do not tell him that one of his grand campaigns, his ideological crusade, has failed. Generals learn this early. Staff officers learn it faster. And anyone who witnesses what happens when Hitler is confronted with reality never forgets it. Because the rule isn't merely about etiquette, it's about survival. Hitler rewards optimism. He punishes pessimism. To disagree is to risk your career or your freedom. To present facts, cold, statistical, undeniable facts, is to invite a fury that shakes the entire command structure. And so the rule holds, month after month, battle after battle. You do not tell him the Eastern Front is collapsing. You do not tell him the Wehrmacht is exhausted. You do not tell him Paulus and the Sixth Army are doomed. But in January 1943, on a night carved into the memory of every man in the Führer's headquarters, one moment shatters the rule completely. The night Hitler learns Stalingrad is lost. And the man forced to deliver that truth is Kurt Zeitzler. Kurt Zeitzler is 47 years old in the winter of 1943. Compact, energetic, meticulous to the edge of obsession. He is not a political general. He is not part of Hitler's inner cult of personalities. He is, at his core, a staff officer who lives and breathes logistics, timing, and precision. He replaces Franz Halder in September 1942 after Halder dares to contradict Hitler one time too many. Zeitzler knows the risks of the job. He knows the atmosphere of fear that surrounds the Führer. But he also knows the reality at the front. And the reality is this. The Sixth Army, 300,000 men when the campaign began, now fewer than 250,000, is trapped in a steel ring around Stalingrad, encircled by Operation Uranus, freezing in temperatures that plunge to minus 30 degrees Celsius, starving on rations of 50 grams of bread per day, burning furniture to stay alive. Zeitzler reads every report. He memorizes every casualty figure. He tracks every Luftwaffe airlift sortie, knowing the numbers tell a story Hitler refuses to hear. Required daily supply, 700 to 800 tons. Maximum delivered by air, 90 to 120 tons. Shortfall, catastrophic. He watches the collapse unfold mile by mile, day by day, position by position. But the final blow comes in early January 1943 when the Soviets launch Operation Ring, a methodical tightening of the noose, assaulting the shrinking German pocket with nearly 50 divisions, over 7,000 artillery pieces, and wave after wave of infantry. Paulus reports his ammunition is down to 15%. Fuel, nearly zero. Horses, slaughtered. Medical supplies, gone. Wounded, over 40,000. Zeitzler knows what this means. There will be no breakout. There will be no miracle airlift. There will be no last-minute rescue. The Sixth Army, Hitler's prize spearhead, is finished. And Zeitzler is the man who must tell him. It is the night of January 22, 1943. Zeitzler walks the long corridor toward Hitler's conference room in the Wolf's Lair. Every step echoes, every nerve tightens, because tonight is different. Tonight isn't another casualty report. Tonight isn't another logistical update. Tonight, he will say the forbidden. He enters. The air is thick with cigarette smoke. A single lamp casts a harsh circle of light over maps dotted with colored arrows that no longer represent reality, only Hitler's imagination. Hitler sits hunched, shoulders drawn upward, eyes rimmed red from days of sleepless tension. His uniform is rumpled. His right hand trembles slightly on the table. He looks up. Zeitzler, the Sixth Army still holds the inner city. Zeitzler inhales. He unfolds the latest decrypted report from Paulus. He lays it on the table. He reads it aloud. Stalingrad pocket reduced by 40 kilometers. Units fighting without ammunition. Hospitals overrun. Total combat strength reduced to 12,000 defectives. Situation is hopeless.
Hitler freezes. For several seconds, nothing moves. Not a blink, not a breath, only the distant hum of generators outside the bunker. Then he asks, voice low, how many days can they still resist? Zeitzler answers the truth. 2, perhaps 3. It's as if the temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Hitler's face twitches, his jaw tightens, a pulse jumps along his temple. He whispers, impossible, the Sixth Army does not surrender. Zeitzler presses gently but firmly. They will be annihilated. Hitler slams his fist onto the table. The lamp rattles, pencils jump, the map shifts. They must hold, they must. The prestige of the Reich depends on it. Zeitzler does not back down. He leans in. He says the words no general has dared to say. Mein Führer, Stalingrad is lost. Silence. A long, suffocating silence. Then Hitler stands. Present tense now, every detail sharp. He paces, boots scraping the concrete. He runs his hand through his hair. He mutters almost to himself, no, no, this cannot be happening. Paulus would not betray me. The army would not fail me. He turns on Zeitzler. You are lying. These reports are defeatist. Zeitzler opens the next folder. He places casualty charts on the table. He places ammunition tables. He places Luftwaffe airlift numbers, all incontrovertible. Hitler stares at them as though they are written in a foreign language. He whispers, impossible. Then the breaking point. He sinks into his chair. His voice cracks. Do you understand what this means? Do you understand what they will say about me? Stalingrad! Stalingrad! The world will laugh. Zeitzler does not answer, because there is nothing to say. The room feels smaller now. The air feels heavier. Every man present senses the collapse, not of a city, not of an army, but of Hitler's psychological armor. Zeitzler pushes once more. We must authorize Paulus to surrender. Every hour we delay costs 500 lives. Hitler stares into space. No, no, there will be no capitulation. They will fight to the last bullet. Zeitzler tries again. We still have time to save thousands. No. Then let them break out. No. Zeitzler grips the edge of the table. His voice rises, not in anger, but in desperation. Mein Führer, there is nothing left to break out with.
Hitler trembles. For a moment it looks as though he might collapse. His face goes pale. His breathing becomes shallow. His eyes are wide, unfocused. The shock is absolute. The denial is total. This is the moment history records. The moment Hitler truly understands that Stalingrad is gone. And then, just when the room seems frozen, Hitler gives a final order. Paulus will hold to the last man. The door closes behind him. Zeitzler stands alone, fists clenched, jaw tight, heart pounding. He knows what this means. He knows the Sixth Army will die. If you find this kind of untold history as fascinating as we do, we'd be honored if you'd hit that subscribe button. We believe these stories of courage, sacrifice, and consequence deserve to be told. And by subscribing, you help us ensure they aren't forgotten. But the nightmare isn't over. January 25th, another report arrives. The pocket has shrunk to 10 square kilometers. German divisions exist only on paper. Battalion strength reduced to 40 to 60 men. Rations gone. Hitler refuses to read it. Zeitzler brings it anyway. Again, the unbearable truth. They cannot hold another day. Hitler stares at the wall. No surrender. Hours later, Paulus sends his final critical message. Collapse imminent. Request immediate surrender permission. Hitler responds with fury. Promote Paulus to field marshal. He knows no German field marshal has ever surrendered. He expects Paulus to kill himself, to die with his army, to validate his fantasies of heroic last stands. But Paulus does not. At 7:35 a.m. on January 31st, Friedrich Paulus surrenders the southern pocket of Stalingrad. On February 2nd, the last 6,000 defenders in the northern pocket fall silent. And Hitler, who has spent days oscillating between rage, denial, and shaking despair, learns the final number. 91,000 captives. 147,000 dead. Total casualties exceeding 250,000. He collapses into a chair. He covers his face with his hands. He whispers, "I should never have trusted them. Never." Zeitzler watches the unraveling in horrified silence. This is the impossible action. A general forcing the truth into the mind of a dictator who cannot bear reality. And the cost of that truth, paid in blood on the frozen ruins of Stalingrad, will reshape the entire war. What Hitler doesn't know, not yet, is how far the shock waves will travel. Stalingrad is not merely a defeat. It is a strategic earthquake. The Wehrmacht loses its best field army. The Soviet Union gains unstoppable momentum. Germany's allies, Hungary, Romania, Italy, lose faith. Goebbels launches total war propaganda to mask the catastrophe. The entire Eastern Front begins a retreat that will not stop for 2 years. And inside the German High Command, something fundamental breaks. Zeitzler sees it clearly. Hitler ceases to trust his generals. He tightens control over every operation. His decisions grow more erratic. His paranoia deepens. His mental stability unravels.
The consequences are immediate. 6 weeks after Stalingrad, the Wehrmacht began a series of desperate withdrawals. The myth of invincibility, built over 3 years of victories, dies in the rubble of the Volga. And the Allied intelligence communities take note. What they don't know yet is that Hitler's decision-making will never recover. The true impact won't be understood until the summer of 1943, when his hesitation at Kursk, fueled by the psychological wounds of Stalingrad, costs Germany its final chance to regain the initiative. Stalingrad doesn't just destroy an army, it destroys Hitler's confidence, and with it, the future of the Reich. Kurt Zeitzler never forgets those nights in January 1943. He never forgets the trembling hands, the pale face, the whispered denial. Impossible, impossible. And he never forgets the men he could not save. The soldiers of the 6th Army, farm boys from Bavaria, dock workers from Hamburg, clerks from Dresden, veterans from the 1914 generation, average age 23. Men like Feldwebel Georg Stein, 22, from Cologne. Unteroffizier Reinhold Schäfer, 24, from Stuttgart. Grenadier Lucas Meyer, 19, from Munich. Names now lost to most of history, buried in mass graves across the steppe. After the war, Zeitzler lives quietly, refusing to participate in political movements, refusing to justify Hitler's decisions, refusing to forget what he witnessed in that bunker. He died in 1963, at age 67. To this day, when historians study the Third Reich's internal collapse, when they search for the moment the facade shattered, they return to that night. The night a general told Hitler the truth, and watched him break under the weight of it. Why does this story matter now? Because it reminds us that denial can destroy nations, that truth delayed becomes tragedy multiplied, and that the cost of refusing to face reality can be measured in tens of thousands of lives. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm this piece of history is worth remembering. We're dedicated to rescuing these forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, please